Hello Junior Rangers, my name is Barbara and I have the honor and pleasure of serving your Tennessee State Parks as the Junior Ranger Program Coordinator. I'd like to welcome you to Virtual Junior Ranger Camp, and in this session we'll be talking about some of the less loved creatures in Tennessee State Parks. I have to point out my little friend Ramble up here. He'll be joining us today. Everybody say hi, Ramble! So Ramble is the mascot of Tennessee State Parks and he happens to be our state animal, which is what? Mask, rings on his tail. If you said raccoon, you're right. But like I said, this program is about some of our less loved animals in Tennessee State Parks, and I hope you'll come away with a better respect for some of those animals. Specifically, got a question for you. How many of you like snakes? Ooh, I'm sure a lot of you just cringed up and said, ooh, snakes are not for me. But did you know they're very important to our local environment? And we'll talk a little bit about those features later, but right now, to introduce you to the world of snakes, I would like to read to you a book. This is called Snakes by Gail Gibbons and is read with permission from Holiday House Publishing. I hope you'll find it as entertaining and educational as I did. But just so you know, this book is chock full of information. And as you go through the pages, you'll see all these little insets with different words and information about all these different kinds of snakes you'll find all over the world. I'm not going to read the insets. I am going to read the main portion of the book, but I would encourage you, if this book interests you, you can go online and purchase it, and through various vendors that you'll find like Amazon and Walmart and other places that carry books. So to begin, again, we have Snakes by Gail Gibbons. Again, read with permission from Holiday House Publishing. I hope everybody can see that page initially, and it reads, blades of grass sway back and forth in a meadow. Something silently and slowly slithers as it moves forward. It is a snake. On this page here, snakes have existed for about 125 million years. Throughout history, some people have believed snakes have special powers. Ancient cultures expressed their belief in the powers they thought snakes held. They showed this in what they did, what they wrote, and what they passed down through legends and myths. Again, nice view of that page right there. Herpetologists, that's a person who studies snakes, have identified about 3,000 different kinds of snakes in the world. Snakes live throughout most of the world. Most kinds of snakes live in warm climates near the equator, where it is warm enough to survive. In colder climates, snakes hibernate underground through the winter so that they don't freeze. Most snakes live on land. Some live in trees. Others live underground, and still others live in the water. Snakes are reptiles. Unlike other reptiles such as turtles, lizards, and alligators, snakes have no arms or legs. Their skins are dry and flexible and have scales. Some snakes have fangs. Most snakes live for about 20 years. All snakes have the same basic characteristics. However, the shapes of their heads, bodies, and tails can vary, as well as the colors and patterns on their skin. That's because many kinds of snakes have different ways of hunting for food and finding protection. There you can see our entire snake friend. He's a big boy. All right. Snakes use their strong body muscles to move in different ways. Many snakes move forward in a straight line by gripping the ground as they go. Others bunch their bodies together, strain them out, and then pull themselves forward. This is called bunching. Some snakes move by throwing and looping their bodies forward over and over again. You try doing it. I'm sure it's very challenging. Freshwater snakes and sea snakes use their muscles to wiggle from side to side. Can you wiggle side to side? Like a slithery snake? Maybe you do it with your arm? Well, they do this from side to side in order to glide through the water. Sea snakes have paddle-shaped tails to help them swim. Snakes, well, let me just ask you, do you think snakes are herbivores, an animal that eats plants, a carnivore, an animal that eats only meat, or an omnivore, an animal that eats both plants and meat? What do you think? If you guessed carnivore, you're absolutely correct. So snakes are carnivores. That means they only feed on other animals. They only attack when hungry. Now, I do have to throw a disclaimer in about that one. They also will attack if you bother them and make them feel cornered or threatened. Most snake bites occur when a snake is stepped on because nobody knows it's there. So when it's in pain and it feels like something's harming it, of course it's going to defend itself. Snakes do not have outer ears. Do you have outer ears? Obviously, I do. But they do have inner ear structures that can pick up vibrations. The snake uses its flicking forked tongue to pick up scents. Then when the tip of the tongue touches the Jacobson's organ, the snake is able to identify what it's smelling. The Jacobson's organ is a structure inside on the roof of their mouth that allows them to process the smells and find out what it is that they're hunting. For example, a mouse or an insect, or maybe even something like a scorpion, which is an arachnid. If it is food, the snake stays very still. Can you sit very still? And then suddenly attack. But that's how they stalk and catch their prey. All snakes swallow their prey whole. Some kill their prey first. Others do not. A snake can swallow an animal much larger than its own head because its rigid jaw bones are loosely connected, and thus its jaw can expand. The snake's body also expands as it takes in its prey. Can you extend your jaw like a snake? Ah. Ow. I can't do it as far as a snake can. So they're pretty cool that they can do that. These snakes are harmless to humans. So there's a couple of common snakes listed on this page, and I'll read them off. Blind snake, which is found worldwide. The eastern garter snake, which is found in North America. The San Francisco garter snake, which is also found in North America. The smooth green snake, also North America. All of these are North America, at least on the left page. And that includes the king snake and the northern black racer. We'll talk a little bit about how you can identify a venomous and non-venomous snake a little later. These other snakes on the other page include the African egg-eating snake, the Mexican vine snake from Mexico, the four-line snake, which is found in Europe, the European whip snake, which is also found in Europe, and, of course, last but not least, the elephant trunk water snake, which is found in Asia. That is a long name for a snake. Sorry, the page is stuck together. All right. These snakes use their venom to stun or kill prey before swallowing them. There are about 250 species of venomous snakes. So we're going to look at these pages too and talk about some of the ones you'll find in North America, such as the Sonoran coral snake, the sidewinder, the tiger rattlesnake, which is actually found in Australia, the western diamondback rattlesnake, which is found in the western states of the United States. But we also have a diamondback rattlesnake called the eastern diamondback rattlesnake. It's also found in North America. We'll talk about the 4 venomous snakes that live in Tennessee later in the program. We also have the boomslang snake, which is found in Africa, the fer de lance, found in Central America, the bushmaster, which is found in Central and South America, the black mamba, found in Africa, king cobra, which is in Southeast Asia, and the spectacled cobra. Not to be confused with wearing glasses, but he's also found in Southeast Asia. So that's just a sampling of some of the venomous snakes you'll find all around the world. Other kinds of snakes squeeze their prey to death. This kind of snake is called a constrictor because the word constrict means to squeeze. There are more than 150 different kinds of constrictor snakes. Wow! So a few of those include the rubber boa, which is up here in the corner. And then we also have the emerald tree boa, which is in South America, the diamond python found in Australia, the boa constrictor, Central and South America, a reticulated python, which is found in Southeast Asia, the green anaconda, found in South America, the Cuban boa, which is found in Central America, and, whoa, this sounds really creepy, the blood python, found in Southeastern Asia. We also have the diamond python here, which is showing in this demonstration photo how it catches and squeezes its prey. The snake attacks its victim by grabbing it with its teeth. Then it wraps its body around the prey in tight coils. Once its catch stops breathing, the snake expands its jaw to swallow the prey. And again, that's that process you're seeing in that panel there. Now, snakes have enemies. They can be birds or other animals and sometimes people. Most of the time, snakes are not aggressive. I repeat, most of the time, snakes are not aggressive. If they sense danger, they try to avoid it. Usually, they try to slither away as fast as possible. If they can't escape, snakes use different ways to defend themselves. In a fight for their own survival, most snakes will bite their enemies over and over again. So again, it really comes down to how you interact with a snake. If they feel threatened or like they're going to be in pain, of course they're going to defend themselves. If you felt in danger, would you defend yourself? Absolutely. Usually snakes mate once a year. Most snakes lay eggs. 2 or 3 months after mating, the eggs are laid in a warm place and are usually left unattended, meaning the snake doesn't stand by to watch them hatch. When the snakes are ready to hatch, they each use a special sharp egg tooth right in the front of their face to slit open their leathery shells. Now they are hatchlings and they are able to live on their own right away. That would be the equivalent of a child being born and immediately moving into their own apartment. Some snakes give birth to live young about 7 months after mating, kind of like how humans do. Before being born, the snakes are in casings, which are also called sacs. They leave their sacs almost immediately after they are born. These snakes are also able to live on their own right away. Snakes never stop growing. The bodies of young snakes grow very quickly, but their skins do not. They must shed the outer layer of old skin. The skin underneath becomes the new outer layer. Each time their bodies outgrow their skin, they shed their skin again. Snakes may use dens to sleep in to protect themselves from bad weather. In colder climates, snakes hibernate during the winter. Hibernate meaning to go to sleep for a really long time, but you wake up at the end of it. They hibernate in the winter so they won't freeze to death. Some hibernate alone. Others hibernate in groups. When spring arrives, they will become active again. So here we have the snake shedding, which we'll talk a little bit about later in the program. And then of course we have their weather or winter dependent behavior here on this page. Today there are fewer snakes living in their natural environments, which is really sad. People have moved into areas which snakes once lived. Land is cleared, trees are cut down to make lumber. There are fewer and fewer places where snakes and other wildlife can live. Think about where you live. Is there a lot of green space around your home? Maybe down the street, maybe there's a park, maybe you live close to a Tennessee State Park. Have you ever noticed how different those landscapes look? It can be really challenging if you're a wild animal, and especially a snake, when you're trying to make it in a human's world. Some people hunt for snakes for their beautiful skins. The skins are used to make items such as belts, purses, and shoes. That's sad. Some people kill snakes because they are afraid of them. Most snakes are harmless, even the venomous ones, as long as you leave them alone. So here we have our snakes in their environment, and here we have all the different things that happen to snakes when people don't understand them. There are wildlife preserves, like your 56 Tennessee state parks, where snakes can be safe from people. Some zoos have learned ways to care for and keep endangered snakes from becoming extinct. Extinct means that they no longer exist. The very last one of them dies off, and that animal is no longer found on Earth in the wild. Sometimes you'll have animals that are extinct in the wild, but still maintained in captivity at zoos or conservation centers around the world. And in some cases, they're extinct all over the place, which can be really, really devastating. Like all animals, snakes play a role in the balance of nature. To know about snakes is to admire and respect them. They are fascinating animals. And here we have our snakes in conservation and in zoos and being cared for when they have nowhere else to go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes Snakes by Gail Gibbons, again read with permission from Holiday House Publishing. So what did you learn about snakes that you didn't know about before? Did you know that there were that many different venomous snakes around the world? Did you know that there's venomous snakes here in Tennessee? There are 4 species of venomous snakes in Tennessee, all of which, just like I said before, won't harm you as long as you leave them alone. Isn't that right, Ramble? Ramble says it's right. So let's talk a little bit more about the snakes you'll find here in Tennessee, though. Some of the more common ones, per se. And I've got here with me just a little friend that I'd like to introduce you to. He's a little jittery right now. And here we have my friend, Cornelius. Say hi, everybody. This is Cornelius the corn snake. See what we did there? So Cornelius, why do you think he's called a corn snake? Is it because he eats corn? Probably not. He's called a corn snake because he's found commonly around cornfields where his prey likes to gather. Now, if he doesn't eat corn, but he eats something that eats corn, what do you think that animal is? Is it a mouse, Mr. Cornelius? I think he agrees. He likes to eat mice that gather around cornfields because that's a source of food for the mice and therefore a source of food for Mr. Cornelius here. Another reason why he is called, he's wrapping around my wire. Another reason why he is called a corn snake is because of this beautiful pattern on his belly. And if he'll stop twisting around, maybe I can show it to you. You see that there? He is going into a shed cycle right now, so he's a little dull. But you'll see these little checkers here, this black and white and black and white. That, according to Native Americans, look like maize or Native American corn. So that's another reason why these are called corn snakes. Now, do you think Cornelius is a venomous or non-venomous snake? Now remember, a non-venomous snake does not produce venom that they inject to you with their fangs. A venomous snake does have venom that they can inject into you with their fangs. What do you think? Venomous or non-venomous? If you guess non-venomous, that's absolutely right. I would never handle a venomous snake. That would be too dangerous for me to do. But there are a couple of ways you can tell that he's non-venomous. Number one, if you look at the shape of his head, and if you stick out your thumb, you'll notice they're roughly the same shape. That's because he doesn't have venom pouches on the back of his head like venomous snakes would. A venomous snake is going to have a triangular shaped head for that reason, because they have big old venom pouches in the back of their head. Another way you can tell him apart from a venomous snake is, I don't know if you can see it, try to get it focused, but you notice how round his eye is? Yes, Cornelius has a really round eye, and that's an indication that he is a non-venomous snake. In North America, only in North America, venomous snakes are only found with a slitted cat-like eye. It's a slit that goes up and down, and if you own a cat or have a cat for a pet, you may have noticed that their eyes will slit in direct sunlight, and it's the same thing. In other countries around the world, you will find that snakes have both, and they can be venomous or non-venomous. So whenever you travel outside the country, make sure you read up on your venomous and non-venomous snakes. But that's an easy way to tell venomous and non-venomous apart here in North America. Now, since he's a non-venomous snake, what kind of snake do you think Cornelius is? Is he a constrictor? If you said yes, you are correct. So this one likes to grab onto his prey and then wrap his body really tight around it to basically suffocate it to death, and then he'll eat his prey. It's a sad situation if you look at it from the point of view of the prey, but for him, it's just another meal. And I got another question for you all. How many of you, hi Cornelius, how many of you would like to see mice everywhere in your home, around your house, in your gardens, in your backyards, just eating everything and digging holes in your walls and tearing stuff up? As cute as mice are, they reproduce really, really fast. So when you have a snake around to help control their population, it is a good thing for the environment. That way there aren't so many mice that they eat up all the vegetation and all the trees and all the grasses, and you begin to lose your natural spaces or your farms, especially in farmland, like crops that can be affected by too high populations of mice. So he helps control that. He's nature's pest control. Boop. And he likes a boop snoop. Do you like a boop snoop, Mr. Corn? I think he does. Awesome. Now we talked a little bit about snake shedding, and I wanted to show you one of Cornelius's snake sheds. He sheds probably once every 1 to 2 months. And here is the head of the shed right here. And you'll notice that it has the eye parts right there, and then this is his mouth. Nom, nom, nom. That's his mouth right there. So when the snake sheds, this skin that he shed off is actually inside out. So if I really wanted to see what his outside skin looked like, I would have to turn this whole thing inside out, because when it peels off just like taking off your sock. Everybody go ahead and take off your socks. Just roll them down your feet. Cast them aside. Unless you're in a public space. Don't take off your socks in a public space. I'm just kidding. Keep your socks on. It keeps your feet warm and protected. But yeah, so as they grow, they shed these skins, and we have quite a few from Mr. Cornelius because he's been growing really fast. Mr. Cornelius is about 3 years old. We got him from a pet store that was using him as an example. And because he was born and raised in a pet store, he's extremely docile. He really has never bitten anybody, but say it with me. All my junior rangers, what I have to say next, I want you to repeat after me. Ready? All animals can and will bite. One more time. All animals can and will bite. And the reason for that is that he will defend himself if he feels like his life is in danger. Now, we've never put him in a situation where that can occur, so he has never bitten anybody. But with that information in mind, would you ever want to pick up one of these guys in the wild? No, you would never want to pick up one of these guys in the wild, because they will be scared of you. You are 3 and 4 times bigger than they are, and they think, oh my goodness, I'm about to be eaten by this giant thing. And then they will, of course, defend themselves. So you just want to leave them alone and admire them from a distance. Another thing about Cornelius is that his color is actually not exactly accurate to what you might see on a corn snake in the wild here in Tennessee. Most corn snakes here in Tennessee that are wild are going to have these red patches on the back, but the in-between, this orange in-between, is going to be a gray color. So he's a near fancy red, so he's kind of a fancy snake, and I want to get him a top hat and a monocle for that reason, because he's so fancy. My danger noodle, him so fancy. But he is really a docile snake. And again, the lesson here is you do not want to pick up and play with a wild snake. Once again, never pick up and play with a wild snake. They can and will bite to defend themselves. What do you think, Mr. Cornelius? Is that enough information today? Did you enjoy the book? Did you enjoy the book, Ramble? I think you did. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me for my Snakes Alive program. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot about our slithery friends. And even if you're still afraid of snakes, I really hope that you will come to respect them and just let them be a part of nature, because they really, really are important to maintaining that balance between what we could consider pest animals and the protection of our crops and our environment, such as our green spaces. We definitely want to give them a wide berth though, so if you find one on a trail, just because we told you how to identify a venomous versus non-venomous snake, does that make you a snake expert? I didn't think so. No, I'm not even a snake expert, and I'm holding one. But I would caution you again, just to give them a wide berth and to leave them alone and let them do what snakes do, which is doing snaky things. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me for my Junior Ranger program today called Snakes Alive. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you may contact Tennessee State Parks, myself specifically, at Barbara, B-A-R-B-A-R-A, .McKeever, M-C, capital K, E-E-V as in Victor, E-R, at tn.gov. Again, that's at tn.gov or tennessee.gov. And I'd be happy to ask or answer any questions you have about my friend Cornelius or anything you learned about in the program today. Hope you all enjoyed it, and good luck with the remainder of your Junior Ranger camp, and have yourself an adventurous day. Bye! Say bye, Corn. Corn? I'm trying to get his face in focus. I guess not. Anyway, have a great day.